So I'm work in the Department of Biochemistry at the University of Otago, and I did a biochemistry undergraduate degree, but since I finished that and I finished my PhD, I'm turned into a genetic epidemiologist with a bit of other epidemiology thrown in. And there's the university, what it looks like right now on your left. Great place to live, Dunedin. So it's well established that through an overwhelming number of epidemiological studies that sugary drinks are associated with a wide range of metabolic conditions. And I'm just showing here some data from our study associating sugary drink consumption with BMI in New Zealand Europeans and New Zealand Maori and Pacific. And we can see there, if you look in the bottom there, that in Maori and Pacific, when we compare groups who are drinking self-reported medium 2 to 3 sugary drinks a day, in this study we define sugary drinks as a large cup when we ask the question of fruit juice or sugar-sweetened soft drinks, or high greater than 3 a day, that people who are drinking self-reported high, their BMI is 1.77 on average, greater than people who self-report drinking low consumption per day. My major research interest is gout. It's been a special problem in New Zealand, particularly in Maori and Pacific, and it is established, and I'll talk about this very shortly, that sugary drinks raise uric acid levels. So we tested for association of sugary drink consumption with the risk of gout, and we can see in all of the 3 groups there, European, Caucasian, Maori, and Pacific Island, that the more sugary drinks a day, particularly people who are drinking 4 or more, the increased risk of them having gout. And there's as I was saying, there's a reasonably well-established biochemical mechanism for that. Now, sugary drinks, and here I very much focus on sugary drinks, contain dissolved sugar. And we've done, with Nicola Dalbeth up in the University of Auckland, we've done fructose freezing study with the main aim was to look at the outcome of this study was to look at the effect of genetic variants on people's responses, and particularly with uric acid. And on your left there we can see divided into Maori and Pacific at the top, or Europeans at the bottom, that are bowl, and it's a reasonably large bolus of, or shot of fructose there. That should be 16 grams of glucose, sorry. But we can see that there's an increase after 30 minutes after people drinking this solution of uric acid, and the increase we see in Europeans and Maori and Pacific as well. We also see the naturally higher levels of uric acid in Maori and Pacific people, which is the major basis for increased prevalence of gout. And we also see the increase in glucose after 30 minutes. Sugary drinks, so this is a study done by Rick Johnson, who spoke at the first FIS conference several years ago now. And in this particular study, which is very similar to the study I just showed you here, gave people Dr. Pepper, so this is an American study, either sweetened with high fructose corn syrup or sucrose. And the major difference between these two is that high fructose corn syrup has up to anywhere between 55 and 60% fructose, and it's the sugars in that are free, so the fructose is free, the glucose is free, whereas sucrose sweetened soft drinks, which we have here, the sucrose requires digestion by sucrase first before it releases those free sugars. But you see similar responses. There's a uric acid response there on your left, with the high fructose corn syrup giving a greater response. And in both you get the insulin response as well, increased secretion of insulin, so contributing to insulin resistance. So I did my undergraduate degree in biochemistry, and my sort of sugar epiphany, if you like, happened. One of the 2 things I can remember about my undergraduate days, I don't have a very good memory. One was meeting my wife, and the second was sitting in a biochemistry lecture by Mary Thompson, great biochemistry lecturer, and realising, and this is in the middle of the fat-free marketing campaign that was just starting, that hey, sugar can be synthesised into fat in the liver. So therefore, why, in my mind then, it was why is there not a focus on sugar as well? But what happens, and this is a metabolic diagram that you don't have to look at or try and understand. I take vet students through that at length in the entire lecture, but a really good place to go to see this explained is the Robert Lustig's YouTube video called The Bit of Truth, which David mentioned in his talk. Really well worth watching, because it does explain the biochemistry in ways that is intelligible, I think. So anyway, the difference about fructose, dissolved fructose, is it gets mainly metabolised by the liver, and it gets metabolised in a completely unregulated way. In comparison to glucose, glucose gets metabolised in the liver, but it's also metabolised in a wide range of other tissues where it's used for energy. Glucose can get stored in the liver as glycogen. Fructose can't be stored. It's just metabolised in an unregulated way, completely unregulated way. And the outcomes of that, particularly with a sugary drink, which has got a lot of fructose, is you get increased uric acid, because your energy levels, or ATP, which is the energy currency in the liver, gets depleted, and as a result of that, when uric acid gets made, you get bad lipids formed. So fructose stimulates the lipid or fat synthesis pathways, and you particularly get the sort of lipids that can go into the bloodstream and not only contribute to increased weight, but also plaques in the, for example, in heart disease, nitrous oxide hypertension. You get insulin resistance caused by inappropriate modifications to the insulin receptor. You also get increased levels of insulin. And fatty liver, which David mentioned as well. You get fat deposited in the liver, and it promotes inflammation, and all of these things, which have evolutionarily were fantastic. That's why humans can do this, and a bunch of other species as well. But that's why humans can do this, utilising the scarcely available resources, and particularly fructose, in a way that given the evolutionary advantage. But with sugary drinks, we're not evolved to deal with that. I'll skip through this just to make just to make the point that there are certain people, and I'm not going to explain this, I don't have time, but genetics and environmental interaction are important. In this case with uric acid, there are people with a particular genotype that have an amplified response to uric acid, to sugary drinks in terms of the uric acid response. Now, the metabolic disease, there are dozens of causes and dozens of possible interventions, where a sugary drink tax is one of them. Metabolic disease and common chronic conditions cannot be fixed by a single fix. We all know that, and that's what Nikki made the point very well before. I'd just like to point out that in the green there, here's a pie graph of the sort of relative contributions, if you like, of why some people get metabolic disease and others don't. Genetics is very important, over 50% for most common chronic conditions. And I think that's that area that does require focus to try and explain and understand why some people get overweight and some people don't, etc., etc. But while sugary drinks don't have a huge contribution, the evidence is overwhelming that a sugary drink tax is one obvious intervention. And what I've done here is listed some of the objections we get to that come up to this. It won't fix obesity, true, but it should have a positive effect, and Nikki went into this in a great more detail. Let's give people choice and information so that they can choose whether to have sugary drinks or not. And I think this approach won't work because there are a lot of barriers to disseminating that information. For example, lower socioeconomic status eliminates choice, and I'll talk about teenagers in a minute. In terms of educating teenagers, it's impossible. But from my perspective, the second point there, the neuroendocrine genetic drivers of appetite eliminate choice. And in some people that, who do get addicted to sugar and sugary drinks, that has the capacity to eliminate choice. The other thing is sometimes said sugars and sugary drinks are only 1.5% or less than 2% of energy intake of calories, that's calories, but that ignores this point here. It's the metabolism of those calories, or those calories and fructose, that is having a toxic effect. So that completely ignores that point there. So dissolved, readily absorbable sugar is the very first way of delivery. If if you want to eat fructose, have it in whole fruit is the message we all well know. And it punches well above its weight in driving metabolic disease, and it all comes back to this metabolism. I really strongly recommend watching that Robert Lustig lecture. And this is a different species. It's called a teenager, a teenage girl, and I have two of them, and I have another one on the way, and they are impossible to educate on sugary drinks. So this one will have a group of friends around, and they actually sneak in budget sugary drinks, and there's no amount of education. I try to give her as little money as possible. So the answer to that is in fact it's probably counterproductive in terms of they just find the cheapest sugary drink. And so as a parent, you know, education, I've tried. Thank you.